Greetings, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome to this latest edition of Tales from Outer Space, where I take stories from across the internet and read them for your entertainment. This particular story is called What Doesn't Kill You, written by Noob vs. Ater NVM. He looks puzzled at the open simulation. Again and again, he runs the numbers, always finding the same results. Failing to see the problem, he sings to his project partner, who puts away her snack and walks to the computer. "This is odd," he says, without taking his eyes off the screen. "What is it?" she asks, after swallowing the last bite. "This world is spawning life." "Abiogenesis? Is that even possible?" "Shouldn't be with this little potassium, but no matter how much I mess with the composition, it just keeps happening. It is a very young star system. Is there any large mass close by?" "A protoplanet has a pretty close orbit." "I'll diverge and set it to collision course. That should handle it." The following week, he brings the project back to class and, as soon as the professor finishes his lecture, he comes to her and discreetly shows the simulation. "We have a problem. The collision didn't go as planned." "Damn. It's so dense now. All of that iron is making the ginormous magnetic field. We created an impenetrable dome for life on this planet, and this freaky large moon makes it impossible to destabilize the rotation axis. There is so much life in this damn rock. You know, this could be our way out." "I don't follow." "If we can't get rid of life, maybe life can get rid of life." "I see. I'll set these cells to eat each other." Later that day, at the college dorms. "Could be worse. I just don't imagine how. They were supposed to kill, not help each other." "Yep. They just combined into a supercell. Damn. You know what? Drown this planet in acid." "How?" "Have these damn supercells excrete poison gas." The next evening. "So this is how it could be worse. Why aren't they melting in this much oxygen?" "They did for a while. Now they learn to breathe it, somehow. Why won't they just die? There's so many kinds of them." "Screw it. If acid won't make it, fire will do it. Unleash the volcano." "Which one?" "That very, very big one." Later that night. "And they've taken the dry land meteor." Much later, into the night. "And now they keep their eggs inside and they produce food for their young. Should we even bother at this point?" "Probably. There is a group of primates which is predicted to take all of the planet and beyond." "Primates, you say? Are they arboreal?" "They are. Dry up the forest, kill their trees and let them die on the ground." Almost dawn. "They're running a lot. How did they survive for our fruits?" They learn to scavenge starch from roots and proteins from marrow. Under the earth, inside the bones. They don't have teeth or claws for it." "They figured it out." "Send the storm, a volcano, something." "Already did." "They bounce back and learn to control fire." "Take away their ability to synthesize vitamins." "Done that. But that started eating, well, everything. Turned their land into a desert. Now they're spreading all over the planet. Send in the wolves." They tamed them, set them to infighting. Now they're congregating inside walled cities. Oh, of course they're learning to grow their own food." Way past breakfast time. "Let's face it, we failed." "No, this global warming thing will do. I can feel it." "You know it won't. War, famine, pestilence, nothing works. We even gave them nukes and they just stopped bombing each other." "I know, it's just, yeah. Doing this course again will be a pain. Next semester will suck." Post-noon at class. "Sorry, Professor, we couldn't make it work," he says with defeat in his eyes. "We made an entire universe and this one single rock kept kicking our butts. No matter what we threw its way." She speaks with a visible frustration. "Life is pretty resilient, and making a whole universe without it would always be a challenge. Let me take a look. If you manage to contain it to a single planet and the rest of the project is acceptable, I might still give you a passing grade." The sleep-deprived students suddenly burst with hope as they watch the professor load the simulation. How quaint. Way more infrared radiation than I was expecting." Does anyone else feel, watched?" Story number 2. Slayers, written by DMofTheTomb. Log date 663026. Document recovery point. Time capsule in orbit around the planet Satal 4. Document language Het, has been 96% translated to Terran Standard. Greetings, future generations. I am Hedek, the Slayer, commander of the mighty Het invasion fleet. Or at least, I was. This record in this capsule is to serve as a reminder to you future generations who may have forgotten why our people stay away from the Sol system, and how for the first time in our empire's history, retreated. It was the time unit 14 Rel 67 Cetel. 973,428 corals, roughly 1 Sol year. It was that coral that Het kind was at its peak. We had for centuries thought of ourselves as the dominant race in this galaxy, imposing ourselves as godlike figures over the primitive races, using our naturally intimidating rough skin and horns to invoke fear. As for the more advanced and non-religious races, we time and time again waged truly one-sided wars of conquest. That was over 70 corals ago, and since then our empire has retreated and pulled back to its borders, sacrificing over 1/3 of our domain. Some say this has brought great shame upon our proud people, but I, who have seen this with my own eyes, what lies in that particular galactic spiral arm, know with absolute certainty that all of this was necessary. But I digress. About why all of this has happened. In that year of our empire's peak, our ambitions were justifiably stronger than ever, and craved to claim more new races to rule over. That is, when we found what seemed to be a somewhat primitive probe drifting into our domain. It was recovered and brought to my fleet, which was near the border on patrol. The device was horribly archaic. It was almost insulting to whoever had built it managed to get so far into space without adequate technology. That insulted feeling we had only amplified when we found inside the device was a plaque made of gold. Carved on it was a diagram of what we could only assume were its builder's species. A piece of the mentioned probe was found in the same time capsule as this message. The records indicated it to be from Pioneer 10 space probe. The audacity of a race so primitive that it clearly hadn't developed proper spaceflight had practically thrown a valuable gold piece carved into their image right at us. Though we now know it was by pure coincidence it came in our direction. At the time, we had taken it as a challenge of authority and power. And once reported to our Emperor, he quickly gave the order to trace the probe's origins and make its makers our next target. I was at the time proud to lead the fleet on this mission. Now it is our greatest shame, and yet it may have saved us before we expanded our borders too close to them. Our ships easily traced the path of the probe back through the void of space, tossed and turned throughout the stars by gravity, until eventually the trail came to a halt at its origin. A simple single-star solar system, various solid and gas planets, as well as an asteroid belt. And on the third planet in the system, there was a life and civilization we had come for. But no ships, no grand armada ready to defend as we entered the system. Not even a transition to acknowledge our presence there. After taking a tactical position protected in one of the gas giant's set of rings, we silently observed the third planet. We listened in on their primitive radio transitions. At first, just letting the ship's computer take in a wide variety of signals in order to learn the language, or languages. But what we saw when we actually started looking was something I will never forget. Across every screen on the ship's bridge played horribly gruesome scenes of death and cruelties, beyond even our limits. But what truly scared us was differences between the killer and killed. The ones doing the killing were clearly that of the species on the gold plaque, but these ones were much larger and draped in green plating. It is our prevailing theory that they must have undergone rapid evolution in order to not only just survive, but dominate over the ones we saw being killed. That is to say, beings that looked eerily just like us. We saw them torn to bits by the thousands by single warriors who never rested nor relented. We watched hours upon hours and hours of footage. Most of the bridge crew had to be excused one by one until only the essential staff remained. And it was later reported that similar situations had happened on the bridges of the other fleet ships as well. It was not long after this that I and the ship captains unanimously decided that fighting these people would be a death sentence, and that we are at risk by even being here. And so we left there and then. returning to pleas with the Emperor to retreat our borders away from that horrid race as quickly as possible, showing some of the recorded footage as evidence which soon convinced even him. Our great empire had for the first time in that moment halted its constant expanding, and in fact over the next few years pulled back away from the direction of Seoul as much as we could. Our military retreated from all conquests and began to focus on just defending and preserving our border. Though we didn't realize it at the time, this encounter with the humans had sent waves through our empire which thoroughly started our transformation from a people of war to a hermit race. Personally, I think we made the right choice. Even after all this time, I can still remember the last clip of the video we took, a powerful voice beckoning forth, "New doom eternal, rip and tear until it is done." End of story. I'd quickly like to thank the T5 peeps: Cold War Boomerwaffen, Severin Cerberus, Bushmaster 177, Henry the Red, Caspar Arnholtz, Cold War Boomerwaffen, Elijah Silvercross, Dragzoon WRE, and Severin Cerberus. Thank you very much.